Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Līga Sičeva. I'm Director of EU Project Department. I'm representing Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's a huge pleasure here today see you in this webinar in middle of summer, in middle of July. So we highly appreciate all the participants of this webinar who found the time for being here today and who is interested also in EU strategy, EU funds and project management, what's actually quite actual topic for today, for Ukraine and for European Union and for common cooperation. I will be moderator today of this webinar, and I would like to encourage also during the webinar write your questions in the common chat, what you can see in Zoom. We will read the questions, and if there will be some clarifications, we will be free, might give you even an option to speak loudly. Additionally, I would like to say also a huge thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because this webinar is organized in the framework of supporting integration of Ukrainian small and medium enterprises and business support organizations into European single market, where Latvia is its entry point. And this project is financed, partly financed by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also supported by Embassy of Ukraine in Latvia. And we are very glad to cooperate in this project together with Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So, as you already might hear, today's topic is EU strategy, EU funds and project management. And now I would like to give a word to the Jānis Aizsalnieks, Policy Officer for Economic and Sectoral Policies, Ukraine Service, DG NEAR, European Commission. And he today will present presentation about EU enlargement strategy and support to Ukraine for integration into the single market. Please, Jānis. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Līga. Thank you, colleagues. Good morning. Greetings from European Commission. I'm very pleased to be here and participate in a seminar organized by Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Not least because I'm Latvian and because today I had the chance to join Latvian Chamber here in studio in Riga, while I normally work in Brussels. And work in a DG environment, or the Department of European Commission that is in charge of cooperating and implementing policy for our assistance and cooperation with neighboring countries. I have a pleasure of introducing you our work that we are doing on the EU enlargement policy and the work that we are doing on the EU support for Ukraine, for Ukraine's integration into the single market. I think it's very important to start with a basic question, and that helps also to understand the procedure and the structure of the enlargement. So who can actually join the European Union and what kind of lessons we have drawn from the previous phases of enlargement. So the EU treaty is saying on the enlargement that any European state may apply for the membership if it respects the democratic values of the EU and is committed to promoting them. Here you can also see on the map the different stages of enlargement, starting from many years ago in 50s and 70s. In 95 we had enlargement to Sweden, Finland, and Austria. Following that, there was a large enlargement covering also Baltic states and 10 or altogether 10 Eastern European countries. And now, as you see, we are having another 10 candidate countries that are already midway in their enlargement, and we are in different phases with each of these countries. There are very famous criteria called Copenhagen criteria that are determining what are the requirements for country to be fulfilled, to be able to join the EU, and all of them, or these criteria, are grouped in three groups. First of all, there are political criteria, which means that there should be stable institutions guaranteeing democracy, rule of law, human rights, and respect for and protection for minorities. Then there are economic criteria, which means that countries should have functioning market economy and the capacity to cope with the competition and market forces coming from the EU market. And then our EU acquis criteria, and EU acquis, that means the EU legislation and policy in different areas. So the countries should be able to take and implement effectively the obligations of membership, including adherence to the aims and political, economic and monetary union. At the same time, in Madrid European Council, it was decided that applicant countries are expected also to develop their administrative structures, and as well EU needs to rethink how it is working and organizing its work as well, so kind of prepare for membership and accommodating new members. Here is a step-by-step explanation on what kind of phases are there in the EU accession process. I will not go in great detail through all of them. I'd just like to say that currently for Ukraine we are in a phase 6, which is we have just started last week actually negotiations on the accession. We have started screening of the first chapter of the Ukrainian legislation, and I will come to this a little bit later. This is a chapter of fundamentals, which belongs to the cluster of fundamentals, and this chapter concerns public procurement. So we went through in great detail what the Ukrainian legislation on public procurement at the moment is, and we will be also drawing up a report on what needs to be done in order to ensure full compliance and full alignment with the EU law. Once we will go through this phase of assessment and the screening of the Ukrainian legislation, we will go to the negotiations itself, and once we have completed them, then there will be a process of formal ratification and accession of Ukraine to the European Union. Here I come to the enlargement strategy. We were asked also to present a little bit what is the enlargement strategy, and just why I wanted to also give you these examples and a little bit of history of what has happened before is because enlargement strategy was formed on experience that European institutions could observe, and we all could observe during the previous enlargement waves. And one of these, or some of these experiences were indicating that we need to pay much stronger attention to fundamentals, to rule of law, fighting corruption, and addressing a judiciary. And this has led to a slightly amended or slightly changed enlargement strategy, which means that we are going to start and we are going to have much stronger focus on good governance criteria, maintaining rule of law, independent judiciary, efficient public administration, ensuring fight against corruption and organized crime, development of civil society, and ensuring media freedom. So these are the things that will have to come first in the first phase. Secondly, when it comes to the enlargement negotiations itself, we are also going to start precisely negotiations with these chapters, which means fundamentals. And fundamentals are going to be opened first in the beginning. And as I said, we had already started this with the public procurement, which is part of fundamentals. And these chapters are not going to be closed right until the accession. So they will never be closed. We will close all other chapters, and fundamentals will be essentially closed only maybe months before Ukraine will join the European Union, to ensure that we maintain close dialogue on these aspects throughout the accession period. Thirdly, the enlargement strategy also now involves conditionality. Hence, you know, if there is no progress on any of these chapters that we are starting with, we are not continuing to negotiate and discuss other chapters. So it is very essential to achieve and show progress on the matters that we are discussing and negotiating before we can actually proceed to negotiating other chapters. One of the last aspects is that European Commission, judging or drawing lessons from the previous enlargements, has become more active in involving itself in solving fundamental problems that are obstructing our partner countries to proceed with enlargement. I think the examples here are the case of North Macedonia, for which the enlargement or the accession negotiations were started, but then they were stuck for many years due to the issue of the country's name. And then in a process that was where the European Commission was also involved, this issue was eventually resolved. Similar situation similar situation to that has been also in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So you see that European Commission is much more closely getting involved with solving these fundamental obstacles. And the last that I'd like to say is that the monitoring of the progress is happening through Enlargement report, which is an annual exercise. You can find it online. It's an open report which has a full description of state of play in all the chapters of the EU acquis and the progress of the particular country. Here is just a quick picture of what these chapters are. And I'm sure you will get this presentation. So if you haven't seen this nice pie, then you can you will be able to investigate it. And here on the upper side, in a dark blue, you see 5 chapters that are so-called fundamentals: judiciary, justice, public procurement, statistics, and financial control. So these are the elements that we are going to start with. Then we will continue straight away with internal market, and then we will proceed with other chapters of the EU acquis. So these color groups are indicating the cluster of that particular group of chapters, so to say. And as I mentioned, when we screen the legislation, so we will go through now all the 5 fundamental chapters, and we will prepare a report as regards all 5 chapters together. We will present this report to the European Council, and the Council will decide on opening of the negotiations on these particular or any individual chapter in this cluster based on perhaps certain requirements or certain reforms that will need to be accomplished in order to conduct negotiations. And now, after the quick view on the enlargement process, I'd like to switch to EU support to Ukraine and how we are supporting in particular Ukrainian economy and Ukrainian companies. In total, since beginning of the war, European Commission has provided 108 billion euro support to Ukraine. This support has been coming on different forms and for different destinies. So there's financial support to ensure smooth running of country, to be able to pay salaries, to be able to provide public services. So we have provided budget support. It has been also humanitarian assistance. It has been assistance in the area of trade, and it has been assistance to ensure functioning of solidarity lanes, which are export routes or import routes. We have invested 2 billion euros in ensuring better connectivity of Ukraine with the EU border. And we have also provided support to finance military assistance for specific EU peace facility. What has happened exactly this year? This year we have already disbursed 8 billion to Ukrainian Treasury in order to ensure functioning of economy. We have also signed 1.5 billion euros in grants and guarantee agreements, which will ensure mobilization of additional investments in Ukrainian economy. And these investments are going to focus on repairing and rehabilitating what has been damaged by the Russian war of aggression towards Ukraine, in particular supporting your energy infrastructure, transport, support to municipalities and SMEs. Here I come to the technical assistance projects, EU technical assistance projects are helping Ukraine to conduct reforms, are also helping Ukrainian companies to survive in these very difficult circumstances. We have a number of programs that are contributing to supporting Ukraine in terms of technical assistance. The largest, the most prominent today is so-called Ukraine Facility, which you have heard about probably. It is 50 billion euro program that is going to be the main program of EU to support Ukraine. I will talk about it slightly more in detail, but it has 3 pillars. The first pillar is Ukraine Plan. So this is a list of reforms for which implementation, upon which implementation the European Union is disbursing budget support funding. Then there's investment framework, which is essentially guarantees and blending instruments where we are ensuring access to finance for Ukrainian private sector. And these funds are going to be available, are already available through the Ukrainian commercial banks, or if you get into the contract directly with the European financial institutions. Then there is a specific European program called Single Market Program that's also supporting Ukraine. This is an EU-wide program where EU member states and candidate countries participate, and Ukraine is already a member of Single Market Program and is benefiting from its assistance. And then there is also Horizon Europe, which is another program that is mainly supporting research and development, and also Ukraine is eligible to be supported from this program. And all in all these programs are aiming to support three main objectives for supporting private sector. So this is improving business environment, ensuring that there are good business environment reforms happening in Ukraine, ensuring access to finance so that companies and businesses get more access to finance, and also ensuring business development services. Now here is an architecture of Ukraine facility. I will probably not go in huge detail, but I just wanted to highlight that bulk of the money from Ukraine facility is going to be disbursed to Ukraine in budget support, which is going to be disbursed against the implementation of the reforms in various areas. There are 12 areas altogether on reforms that are going to be implemented in different sectors, such as economy, business environment, green transition, transport, energy, so on. So the second pillar, as I mentioned, is going to be guarantees and blending, ensuring access to finance. And there we have approximately 9.3 billion in guarantees and blending. And pillar 3, which is purely technical assistance, support to project funding, is 4.76 billion euros that is envisaged right now. Here I'd like to switch briefly to show what the chapter on business environment looks like in the Ukraine plan. So there are 9 measures that we have agreed together with Ukrainian government that needs to be implemented as a matter of priority. Of course, these are not all of the reforms that need to be conducted and implemented to ensure good business environment and investment climate in Ukraine. But in our view, these are the most promising ones and the ones that need to be implemented in order to ensure and generate growth. This year there are 4 reforms being aligned, and the first and second one actually have been already implemented, and the other ones are coming. So the first one was a new legal framework and allocation of the state budget for support to industrial parks. So you might know that Ukraine is now carrying out or is going to implement a reform to support work of existing industrial parks throughout the country to ensure that investors who are coming to Ukraine would have an easier time to be able to arrive and to set up their production lines. Second reform that is already also implemented, it is a reform of Economic Security Bureau. Here we would like to say that we would like to see the work of the government authorities who are in charge of investigating economic crimes as really contributing to improving business environment. We see that some of the procedures or some of the style of the work in the past has been actually difficult and perceived and seen as obstructing business activity. So here I think it is very important that new approach of work is going to be more risk-based rather than plan-based, and this is something very worth mentioning. The reform that is currently being set up and is being finalized is a deregulation plan of business environment. So we know that our colleagues in the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine are preparing a plan to ensure that operating a business would be easier and that all the rules that could be suspended or eliminated would be simplified, and that also government services to businesses would be digitalized. So there is such plan. This approval of this plan is in preparation, and we're going to see it very soon happening. And I can only invite you also to talk more with the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine and to signal maybe elements that need to be further looked at. The next reform that is also expected this year is going to be resumption of market surveillance. As you know, due to the martial law, market surveillance has been on hold. And by end of the year, the market surveillance is going to be resumed, but it's going to be resumed on a basis of, again, a modified law, which is going to adopt, again, a risk-based approach rather than plan-based approach for market surveillance. And the resumption of market surveillance will also allow Ukraine eventually to export more to the European Union, because, of course, in order to get goods to the European market, we need to be sure that that the product safety has been complied with, and that product safety has been ensured through the inspections and market surveillance. Next year and the years after, we're going to have measures such as SME strategy, and actually this strategy is already adopted, even though it is scheduled for next year. There will be adoption of new of the EU norms and standards, technical standards, also planned for the year after, but I know that some of these elements are already achieved. There will be rapid compliance with EU public procurement regulation, so that is also envisaged in these reforms. Compliance with reforms to ensure EU compliant late payment framework in Ukraine. And finally, the ninth measure is actually, again, access to finance to SMEs. So we have agreed with Ukrainian government that by mid-2026, government will disburse 800 million in grants and loans to Ukrainian SMEs. And by fourth quarter of 27, this amount should already be 1.75 billion euros. So we're going to be working closely with Ukrainian government to see on what terms and how this funding is going to be disbursed. Some of this money will be grants, some of this money is going to be loans through the programs such as 579 or other programs that the Ukrainian government is going to set up. But as an indication, this is envisaged in Ukraine plan, and the European Union is going to reimburse Ukrainian government for disbursing this funding to the Ukrainian SME sector. Here is a brief overview on the Ukraine investment framework. So just to clarify what the Ukraine investment framework is, it is part of the Ukraine facility. These are the funds that we are going to channel through the European financial institutions, such as European Investment Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, other EU member state development banks, such as KfW in Germany, such as IFD in France, or BGK in Poland. So these international or European financial institutions are going to get the European funding to issue guarantees for Ukrainian banks. So that means that that subsidized money will be available in loans for projects to be implemented in Ukraine by Ukrainian companies. There will be also specific instruments being set up that are going to target specific sectors, for example, energy sector or any other sectors, such as renewables or, for example, critical raw materials or any other specific sectors. Larger projects obviously can also be implemented in direct cooperation between these IFIs and Ukrainian companies. So, for example, if there is a large loan, that it usually doesn't go through the Ukrainian commercial banks, but it is then organized directly between the Ukrainian company and the EBRD, for example, or EIB or so on. So here are the objectives and the amounts that are envisaged, and I would just like to say that we have signed the first contracts under this Ukraine facility, and this money is already being channeled to Ukrainian banks. We are now working on a next call, so European IFIs are preparing new projects for submission, which will be assessed and decided together with the Ukrainian Ministry of Economy. Here I'd like to spend a little bit more time to tell about the SME access to finance. This is more also of the elements that will be covered by the investment framework. These funds are being prepared, and they will be channeled for upscaling of production capacities. So this is exactly what I was mentioning, the financial resources that are coming through the Ukrainian commercial banks, and ensuring support, for example, to the war-affected groups and territories. So, for example, if there is destruction in certain frontline areas, we'd like to favor reconstruction, available funding for reconstruction in these areas as soon as possible. And they will come in the form of guarantees, blended finance, and a new equity investment, which is a little bit novelty for us as well. But just to tell that equity investment is also going to be possible. And this kind of discussion then, if you have interest, would have to be then done with the Ukrainian commercial banks and the international IFIs. Here are a few results of the EU for Business program, what we have achieved so far. It is not all of the assistance that we have provided, but these are some of the very specific, precise results that we have done with the technical assistance program that is implemented on the ground with the help of German Development Cooperation, GIZ, where we have ensured providing grants to the companies who needed to relocate to safer areas, for companies that needed to restart their business, for the IDPs who have moved to other areas and wanted to restart their businesses. We are providing still, and we have provided business development services, so advice on how to restart your business, to write your business plan, to set it up and get it going, and also providing grants, access to finance, and also some advice on how to ensure and get your products on a market in Ukraine or for exporting. So this is a brief overview of the EU support and the annexation process. I'm very pleased to having been able to present this, and I'm very happy to reply to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jānis. Indeed, we have one question from Ukrainian participants. I would like to give a voice, but please, before you start, please say your name and which organization you are representing. Please give your question. So far, so silence. Okay, so then I would like to say huge thank you to Jānis about his presentation. It's clearly visible that European Union is more than committed to help Ukraine develop the country, go into the European Union, and also to make reforms, and also to make it as a competitive country generally. So, and I think this was a very good overview about all the structures, about all the funds and policy that European Union is not innovation, but investing in Ukraine and in cooperation between European Union and Ukraine. So, yes, thank you, Jānis, very much.
Thank you. Pleasure mine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, and now I would like to open actually my own presentation. This is like Mr. Jānis Aizsalnieks already made a presentation about global EU strategy. Like I'm saying, always like a hat of everything. What Europe thinks, what Europe plans, what kind of policy reforms are necessary for making business environment, improvements in Ukraine, and access to finance for companies, and not only for companies, and also for business development services. And and now I'm going a little bit step by step, a little bit deeper in details in the topic. So this was like a wider strategy, a wider hat, and now I will have a small presentation about international EU-funded programs where companies and organizations can look for the funds. And the presentation's aim is more to present opportunities for NGOs and also for SMEs where they can apply for these funds, what is our existing programs at the moment available for you. But before we are going more deeper in the topics, then my presentation structure will be like explanation of the EU funding mechanisms as it's such. Then there will be presentation part about EU funded programs for the Ukrainian organizations and SMEs. Explanation of EU funding mechanisms. This is I would like to say triangle, this yellow golden top, I think it was Jan's presentation about EU strategy and priorities. And maybe you already can read between the lines that actually EU funds are instruments for EU policy implementation. So it means that the top of the triangle, we have EU strategy and priorities, and where they have set these priorities and funds, so it's going to be the place where we need to look that we are relevant to the strategy and priorities. If we want, it won't be, I'm making always an examples that You can go to the clothes shop and willing to buy a bread, but actually clothes shop, textile shop is selling the textile. So this is the same with EU funds. So EU funds have their own list of activities, their own priorities, their own topics which they are ready to provide, but meanwhile, not always everything will be fully relevant to the companies or NGOs' needs. So this always need to keep in mind that when we are applying for EU funds, that we should be pragmatic in the ways that we should match interests of both sides, like your organizations and EU strategy and priorities. If there is a match, then there's opportunity for the project. And also, it's not like that actually EU strategy and priorities are made by head, you know, from the sky. Really, people are discussing about that, discussing in European Union Council, Parliament, and so on. They are really taking a time about where we are going, what's the future of European Union, what is the future for international cooperation, what's the future of cooperation with Ukraine, and so on. So therefore, it's not like that. It's not always irrelevant with real needs. It's they really try to focus on real needs, but meanwhile we have a like common strategy, what is a little bit wider than all daily vision. And based on the strategies and the funds, all the budget is divided between different funded programs. Already from previous presentation, you already heard that there is a European Reconstruction Bank, there is different kind of single market programs and also cooperation with Ukrainian government and so on and so on. So all the budgets divided between EU funded programs, and each EU funded program is focusing on some kind of chosen priorities which are relevant with EU strategy. So, and then based on those chosen priorities, they are working, and already here in previous presentation you saw quite a lot of priorities in case of Ukraine. And then there is a place for projects where organizations can submit projects, proposals for ideas how they can solve these concrete problems and how they can be relevant and be in connection with chosen priorities. So this is generally how the things are like made as the main structure of EU funds. In this triangle, maybe it looks a little bit simple, or maybe for somebody it looks a little bit difficult, but generally you always need to keep in mind that everything what is connected to EU funds, it's connected with EU strategy and priorities. So if we are speaking about priorities for EU funds, then if we are looking on Ukrainian case, then you might see different priorities. It was more about business environment improvements, where is a need for a lot of reforms for step-by-step going into the European Union. There's also, of course, need for access of finance for organizations and small and medium enterprises. And of course, there's business development services and reconstruction as such. Meanwhile, step by step, you need to also be aware for priorities EU funds, which are made for a certain period of time. So since 2021 till 2027, we have 5 priorities. In previous part, in previous periods, there were different priorities and different focuses. So after 2027, we will look which will be next priorities of European Union. So, and at the moment, European cohesion policy has set a short-term modern menu of 5 policy objectives, and first of that is more competitive, smarter Europe. And there you can see is that generally Europe is focusing on everything what is all around about competitiveness and digitalization, innovations, startups, and so on. Then we have a great focus on green, low carbon transition towards a net zero carbon economy. This is very important because we know that climate change is actually facing us on daily basis already. If I'm speaking with you from Riga, then at the moment I would like to say that this year in Riga we have great summer and very sunny weather, already close to the since April, but normally it's great here between mid-May till mid-September. So we feel global warming. So far we are happy about that, but meanwhile we are reading in news in Europe that in Spain, in France, in Greece, Cyprus, there might be up to 40 degrees during the day, very hot, very sunny. So it's also connected with climate changes. So therefore European Union understands that this is quite important topic because it can change quite a lot in economic development, in people well-being, and so this green topics is very important for Europe. And it's behind all that, in these green topics there's also a topic about circular economy, and this is about resource management. Sometimes people are thinking, oh, circular economy, why we need to do something with circular economy? It's like simple waste recycling or waste management. Actually, it's not like that. Circular economy is one of the purposes of circular economy is to use our existing resources in our economy for increasing our independence from other countries who has this raw materials generally, and therefore like European Union as a region could be much competitive generally in the ways that we are more less independent from other countries, which are not European Union countries, but they have raw materials. So this actually those topics, when sometimes you are hearing about them, the picture behind all those maybe daily guidelines about how to do circular business model or circular economy in your organization, it's much bigger. So, and then a more connected Europe by enhancing mobility. So there's a lot of infrastructure support for roads, for bridges, for railways, and so on and so on. And of course, European Union also speaks about a more social and inclusive Europe. And there's also a social package which supports for refugees, for different kind of risk groups of European inhabitants, and so on. And of course, Europe focuses on closer to citizens by fostering a sustainable integrated development of all type of territories. So it means that there's a lot of funds and supports also for smaller countries, for not capital cities, but also regions of the countries that they also are well developed and included in European Union and doesn't count like, you know, the border region of something. So when you are dealing with EU funds, you need to keep these priorities by your in your mind, and actually to know by your head, because in every project proposal that you are going to write, there will be topics that you need to describe project relevance to the EU strategy, project relevance to the local national strategies, and so on. How EU funds works. Previous presentation gave I think very good presentation about general structure of EU funds and how Ukraine goes step by step to the European Union, and what kind of policy reforms are needed, and so on. I would like to give a little bit additional slide about that, that I'm always making a joke that there is EU priorities, which if you are going a little bit back also to triangle, so we have EU priorities, and then there is a bag of funds, and so this bag is dividing into two sides. One is this bag of money which goes for EU member state. And in this case, you already hear about financial support to Ukraine based on Ukrainian needs and also based on EU strategy. And there's EU territory international bag with funds. So, and those two sides are a little bit different. They both are in relevance with EU priorities for concrete period, but meanwhile they both are implemented, and this support goes by different channels. And these channels makes actually a fun part in EU funds, because they might be quite a lot, they might be quite diverse, and sometimes it's quite difficult to be totally on field about everything where those funds are going. Let's start about the EU member state. So EU member state, it's just really my saying, local funds, I'm saying it. But actually it means that this is a EU fund support, EU fund cohesion policy instrument, which actually gives the money to the country and discussions with the government. They decide which kind of support and priorities country will implement with this kind of financial support what is received by European Union. And then those so-called my so-called local funds actually is a budget what goes through in Latvian case public organizations who are making a calls for the projects, who are making also like managing the contracts and so on. You will have also today example of organization called the Central Finance Contracting Agency, who is actually one of the main organizations in Latvia, which actually manage the funds. So it means that they are opening the government makes a strategy between the European Union and Latvia, how we are going to do with this money, what we are going to do. And then this agency is actually making a calls, checking the contracts, making checking audit reports, how the finances are used, how the deliverables are submitted, our results are achieved, and so on and so on. So it means that these public organizations are managing these funds, but implementation activities goes again on NGOs, on small and medium enterprises, and also on public organizations, because this agency also receives project proposals from municipalities and regions, from whatever universities, schools, cultural organizations, health organizations, and so on and so on. So actually, so EU fund implementators, which you already can see, is public organizations, NGOs, and companies. So, and then we have another hand, which is actually EU territory international funds, which are across the Europe, which are international programs, and which also could be implemented by public organizations, NGOs, and companies. So what you need to be aware is that if we are speaking about local funds, then application could be in even your national language. Application could be quite simple. I wouldn't like to say simple, but I would like to say that you don't need to find a partner from abroad, from different organization. You can be alone. You can go in this concrete call, make activity plan, receive the fund, implement, and give a report, and everything works. When we are speaking about international programs, it's international project management. Then you should have at least partnership with 2 organizations. One is from Ukraine, and the second should be somewhere from international field. When you have already international partnership where you could be even involved in the projects where 10, 15, 20 countries with different organizations and so on. And these games more focusing on global issues that we need to solve here in European Union, and which we need to solve generally in international cooperation. So, and as fund implementators generally are public organizations and NGOs. Meanwhile, there's also space of the companies. Companies can be in these EU-funded programs in 2 ways. One way is that they receive direct support, like for EU for Business program, where they can apply, they can get some kind of free of charge service with low cost. They can get maybe some grant for buying some kind of production equipment, or companies can be as advisors, implementers of some kind of EU-funded program or activity. So therefore, companies also can apply for EU tenders and provide the service for European Union, and at the end also like make activities which are relevant for European policy. So, and the third format of the companies is that when public organizations receive the EU funds, they sometimes, not sometimes, but quite often also has quite a lot of funds, which also will be a question for, not a question, but support and topic for Ukraine, that public organizations will receive funds for reconstruction, reconstruction of buildings, for reconstruction, whatever university, whatever, like some kind of houses and schools and so on and so on. And then in the case of extraction public organizations, they are under the law of public procurement. And then sometimes a fun fact is starting here that some construction companies are saying, yes, we are working with EU funds, we are working with EU projects and everything. Yes, like technically they work it because they received an order from public organization who actually pays them based on EU funds. But generally, actually, they are service providers to the public organization. So public organizations are those who receive funds, but they are making a procurement for service providers, and there is again space for companies. And so when there are, due to the planning periods, there sometimes are some lower period of EU funds when the planning periods are changing, like next year it will be 26, 27, 28, when new plans for new planning period will be made, and then the new funds will be opened and so on. Then this public organizations has less procurements, and companies start to say that yes, it's fine, but we don't have so much procurements and what to do. And this which we need to keep in mind, that companies can have a different roles in EU funded programs. One is a service provider, one is like grant receiver, and also sometimes it's like that they can be also implementer of concrete programs or activities or project. Speaking about so-called local funds, I would like to, not even a local, also international ones, I would encourage you also to be in touch in European Enterprise Network in Ukraine. They are it's organization which acts in more than 60 countries in Europe, and they also provide consultations to small and medium enterprises and also NGOs about access to finance, what kind of funds are available in Ukraine for you, for your question, what kind of funds might be also available internationally. So let's go forward with this next topic. So just like a sum up, EU fund mechanisms are designed to support a wide range of activities that align with EU policy objectives. This is general rule, and this is a topic when sometimes we are willing to get the bread, but we cannot get the bread. We can get some kind of textile, you know. So and this is the things that we need to keep in mind. And these mechanisms are structured to promote economic development, social cohesion, environment sustainability, and innovation across member states and neighboring countries. And you also need to remember that this is more focused on economic development, but economic development consists on a lot of topics. Economic development consists from business environment, what actually is public services to the companies, reforms, strategies, and so on. Also, quite often there is public organizations which are made based on the economic development reforms, like incubators, cluster organizations, support agencies, training centers, and so on. And so there's social cohesion, environment sustainability. So you need to be aware that there's also will be a social topics, because sometimes there's projects which are supporting new company development, and then new company development for new moms in the regions, or young people in the regions, or elderly people in the regions. So those social groups who has some challenges generally. And so this social cohesion is more supporting on these on those vulnerable groups, not just general SME who is already doing great. Yes. So this also need to keep in mind, and of course, environment topics will be quite actual topic also for future. So some concrete definitions. You already hear that there is like different kind of support, like tenders, procurements, grants, and so on. And I decided to make there's a little bit more topics, like what kind of support you might receive from European Union. As already colleague presented, there's equity investment as well, which is quite new for European Commission, which is not included here, but it will be, I think, quite clear how it's going to be functioning during upcoming year. But the three main formats of EU funds are a little bit explained here. So one format is grant. So this is financial contribution given by EU to support specific projects or initiations, used to co-finance projects that contribute to EU policy objectives. It's already said third time, I think. And there's also a keyword, co-finance projects. You as NGO and SME need to be ready but this dream also faced all companies and organizations in Latvia 10, 15, 20 years ago, that there will be a golden mountains and milk rivers, but unfortunately it's not like that. So when we are speaking about the EU funds, they are very good tool, very supportive tool, and useful, but also need to remember that there is some co-financing part from our own funds as well. So not always everything will be financed by 100%. So on this should be keep in mind, and therefore be ready that if you don't have more than whatever 10 euros in your bank account, it will be difficult for you to apply for EU funds. You need to be ready that you already have some kind of funds which can cover the co-finance part of the project. Then types is action grants, supporting specific projects and organization grants, supporting operational costs of organizations, and application process is competitive calls for proposals evaluating by independent experts and funding agreements with successful applicants. So, and this is this also need to keep in mind that this is competitive calls for proposals. So you need to be ready to go through all the details of guidelines of the supported activities and so on, so that you can prepare this proposal of the project, and it should be like quite overthinked twice, quite well argumented, analyzed, and well presented. Otherwise, you might not be competitive, to be honest. So, loans and guarantees. This is financial instruments provided by EU support investment projects. This is more goes like access to finance for projects that might not attract sufficient funding from private sector. So this is the topics that sometimes private banks are supporting some specific innovative and highly potential businesses, but less supportive for grants or financial tools for whatever sustainable energy efficiency plan or energy efficiency activities in organization, and so on and so on. Therefore, European Investment Bank has the loans for that, and European Fund of Strategic Investments and various guarantee schemes are offering to the companies and organizations, and typically quite often involve collaboration with financial intermediaries such as banks or investment funds, which are actually in the country. So in Latvian case, we have Altum, who is actually state bank, but it's not like operating quite a bank. They're more operating with this access to finance tools provided by EU funds. So the companies, as an example, can apply for a fund for energy efficiency, increasement of production site, and if they have achieved results, so they get a bank fund for 10,000 euros, and if they achieve results, they can get, they need to return only 8. So this financial tool gives the finance to implement activities. If they achieved very well the results, they need to return less money than they took from the bank. So, and there's also different guarantee schemes. It is just very simple example, but be aware about these kind of things. And also colleague presented, there's also a Reconstruction Bank of Europe and Investment Bank, who also is dealing directly with the companies who can apply for this kind of loans and guarantees from Ukraine as well. So there's procurement and tenders. This is in different level. One is from your local public organization, but another level is contracts awarded by EU for purchase of services, goods, or works. So, and this procurement and tenders ensure efficient and transparent use of EU funds for public services and infrastructure, and there's competitive tendering procedures. So, and there is, this is interesting place for opportunities, to be honest, because when we're speaking about procurement and tenders, we are not only speaking about providing paper and pencil to the European Commission, but it's also providing for services. And there might be different policy initiatives which supports projects for providing consultancy service in Ukraine, for providing support service for developing international some kind of strategies between country and country, even humanitarian aid for concrete countries and so on. So procurement and tenders portal, there is EU procurement tenders portal with all the tenders published, and you can check and apply. There's quite a lot of opportunities in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, Ukraine, and so on. So, and this is also a place where you can, in different format based on law, but meanwhile you also can be part of EU funds. So, very shortly an overview about EU funded programs for Ukrainian organizations and small and medium enterprises. To be very honest, I will speak about international programs. As you know, we have two hands, two bags. One is like a local funds and one is international ones. So about local funds, there is a Ukraine facility program, and I think it goes through all these kind of public agencies that you have in Ukraine, and you can check information there and follow Ukraine facility program, how it's going to act. So far, what I saw there is that this, they, of course, directly very supports at the moment public sector for Ukraine, for business environment reforms, and not only about business environment reforms, but about public reforms generally in Ukraine, what is very highly necessary for getting into European Union. So it means that, first of all, this Ukrainian facility, to my point of view, will start to work with HAT, with the top of the top. So you will start to work with strategy, with framework of the country, and then it goes already more on the practical support to the organizations, different sectors, and including small and medium enterprises and organizations and NGOs. So and there is structure what will be built up in Ukraine, how you are doing with these kind of so-called local funds in your country. Here I'm a little bit to tell a little bit more about international programs, which means that it's international bag, whereas international partnerships, whereas international topics and international opportunities. What is like general description is short characteristics. Main aim is there is quite more focused on Interreg programs. You have quite a lot available for the of Interreg programs, and third for main is cross-border cooperation between specific regions and program countries to tackle common challenges. And there's already like stress on common challenges. Fields, various dependent program priorities, but you always need to keep in mind again the 5 points of the strategy. And here you can see that we speak about innovations, digitalization, environment, education, climate, and so on. Yes, and also social topics and so on. And then applicants, as I said already previously, most of the time are public authorities, development agencies, universities, research institutions, NGOs, citizens associations, business support organizations like chambers of commerce and industry networks, clusters, and so on. As I said, private enterprises cannot apply for funding quite often directly, but they can receive through the representatives like chambers of commerce and industry free of charge services or services with lower participation cost. They can achieve the consultations, support, databases, networks, trade missions, B2B meetings, trainings, and so on and so on. And sometimes between everything all that, if we are looking for support what is implemented by public organizations, there might be a smaller or bigger grants where companies can apply. But with grants, it's also sometimes difficult because then companies also need to be ready to write a proposal, need to be ready to submit report, explain, and show official documents and so on. And as I said, companies can participate in 3 levels. One is like among target audience which receives the services and support. Another cases that they are providing services by themselves, and also participating in tenders, procurements as a service providers to public organizations. So there are a couple of programs. So one is Interreg Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Ukrainian program, active. They are acting based on the priorities of Europe, what is most often like environment, competitiveness, social inclusiveness, and so on. Then we have Interreg Poland-Ukraine program, and then we have Black Sea Basin program. In all these programs, unfortunately, you need to check which part of Ukraine is included in the program. If we are speaking about Interregs, for me and even for I think every country, sometimes it's a little bit painful in the ways that Interreg programs are it's like between cross-border cooperation between neighboring countries, and then they are not including the whole country, or they are sometimes not including actually they are including just the regions which are next to the border. I think this is the best explanations. They are including in the programs the regions which are next to the border. So it means that if we are speaking about Poland, Ukraine program, then regions which are not to the border of the Poland might not participate in this Interreg program. And this should be always checked when we are I think this is number one topic what you need to clarify when you are going to this concrete homepages and are checking for the calls. Are your organization in the region which is relevant to the program? And if the organization is not included in this region, then sorry, not sorry, there is no opportunities for you. And some of those programs are wider, some of those programs are less wider. So like Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine program covers quite a huge region. Black Sea Basin program also covers quite a huge region, yes, so quite a lot of countries. Those programs are international ones, so you already can read based on the name of the program so that how many countries are involved in the program, and from those countries should be also partner organizations for implementing projects which has a common goals for as a solution for common challenge in the region, which is relevant to EU policy. A little bit difficult, but yeah, common goals, common policy, and region. Everything should be put together like a win-win, and then you can write a proposal and try to receive some funds. Small and medium enterprises in those programs can apply as the main target audience participants in the events, which might be with low cost or free of charge. There's another program, Interreg Romania, Ukraine program as well, who is acting, where you can cooperate with Romanian organizations. And then it's a little bit wider programs, which I will present to you, 5 of them. There's Ukrainian Horizon Europe program. So I have office in Kiev as well. I have put the link where you have read everything about that. And Horizon Europe is huge, really a huge program where European organizations and Ukrainian organizations can apply. Main focus is for innovation development, for researches, for pilots, for innovative competitiveness development, research centers in universities and companies as well. So to be realistic in this program, to apply, you cannot be a single organization or single SME. You can apply in this program generally in quite huge partnerships with different European organizations. There might be some sub-programs based on projects which are implemented by Horizon Europe under Horizon Europe program, which can provide some grants or some really focused support for single organizations or single SMEs. But there you need to follow information. And if I'm saying follow information for Horizon Europe, it's quite challenging because there are so many stakeholders involved in this program, so many sub-activities and clusters that sometimes it's quite tricky to follow everything what's going on. But my suggestion is not to be scared, and there's also some kind of platforms. There will be open education resources as well, where you can try to follow what's going on here in Europe in all these tenders and funds generally. Another program is Erasmus+. I think everybody has heard about the Erasmus Plus because the main information about Erasmus Plus is that it's focused on students and student internships and student opportunities to study abroad. But Erasmus Plus program is much wider in the sense of that they have a different priorities also, which supports cooperation between educational organizations and business support organizations and also the businesses as such, based on the topics which speaks about new policy development for education, vocational education, training, higher universities, and so on, about apprenticeship management in organizations and in companies, and sectoral alliances, about sectoral development, about competitiveness and lifelong learning for small and medium enterprises, organizations, and so on. So actually, if we dive into Erasmus Plus programs, there's quite a lot of opportunities to develop quite a lot also great projects which are not focused only on students for studying abroad or going international apprenticeships. So be aware about that. I have inserted their up-to-date links where it's a little bit more described focus on cooperation with Ukraine, so that you don't need to go through all the I would like to say labyrinths of the program homepage, which is quite interesting part of fun. But yes, and then we have Creative Europe. There you can find different kind of support activities and calls for creative organizations, artists, cultural organizations, and SMEs. Then you might already hear about EU for Business, where is grant program support and trainings and workshops and training visits for Eastern Partnership countries. And of course, main focus is on Ukraine. We hope that this will continue. So far it's ongoing still, and you can check opportunities. And then we have a program live, which focuses mainly on environment topics. So which are about energy efficiency, climate change, nature, circular economy, green skills, sustainable activities in schools, and so on and so on. It's quite huge program, quite huge in the sense that I would like to compare it with Horizon Europe and Erasmus+. Meanwhile, it's quite strongly focused on different angles of environmental sustainability. So, and here we have open education resources. I have added there some topics about European Union funding, grants and subsidies, where you can read general information, how it works. There is one page about EU calls, where you can find also information about open calls. There's project spin teams, where we actually were part of partnership about, and there were some webinars about funding and fundraising and innovation of project management and digital transformation that might be useful for you. And there is also Welcome Ukraine, how Ukraine is integration into EU funding programs. There I have put the date, which is 14th of July, quite close, 1 year ago. So there's a good overview, but there should be already some updates about some other programs as well. But as I'm always saying, if we are speaking about EU funds, this octopus with not 8 legs, but at least 36 or even more legs, is quite interesting and quite interesting in sense to find all opportunities in right time, because if we are speaking about EU funded programs, then you need to be ready and occupied with patience. Because there is a situation like in the ways that today you don't have a call for the proposals of the projects, and after 1 month this call is opening, and you need to be in that time to follow information and to be ready to submit your project. So it means that you need to follow all the time information, and this octopus where I'm saying with 36 legs at least, it's not easy to find some kind of structure, how to start find and where to be and how to receive this support. Therefore, I'm always suggesting to start step by step with smaller investigations in the topic, even with some summaries where it's like already some main programs described, or you can decide, are you ready to go for international projects, which actually requires quite a lot of skills, or quite experienced project managers and coordinators, and also language skills and so on, and know-how about the topic, or you are more focusing on local funds, which are available most probably in your native language, and which are available only in Ukraine, and where you can receive more focused and more, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, but direct support for your needs. And I presented the main programs. I'm more than sure that there's quite a lot another calls and tenders and procurements as well, because so far when I see EU calls page and these kind of pages where are sum up about everything in Europe, we have quite a lot agencies which also are making calls for proposals in different topics about women entrepreneurship and so on. And those agencies not always are so well known as Erasmus or Horizon Europe or Creative Europe or LIFE programs. Meanwhile, there's additional opportunities as well. So, as I said, you need to be fully patient to follow all the information and try to catch in time when the calls are open, and to be prepared in time to submit your project proposal to receive the funds. About practical things, what does it mean to work with EU-funded project management? Long story short, I will tell you a little bit later. Because step by step, we are moving to our next speaker, who is representing the Central Finance and Contracting Agency, and speaking about administration and inspection of EU funds, Mr. Mārtiņš Brencis. He's Deputy Director of the agency, and will tell the examples how that Central Finance and Contracting Agency is actually inspecting also the projects, and what should be followed to implement the project by administration part, and how to implement project in correct ways, that EU funds not only are on the contract, but at the end of the project also are in in very simple explanation, in your bank account. Yes, that you receive those funds really, not only with plans about bright future. So I will ask my technical colleagues, is everything okay? Because Mr. Mārtiņš Brencis will connect. Okay, I see already Mārtiņš. Nice to see you. So he contacted us by online. He's not at the moment in our studio, but I think it anyway will only improve his presentation from his office. So Mārtiņš, the floor is yours.
Okay, I hope that with my sound, with my view, everything is okay. I heard a part of your presentation, Līga, and I don't know whether I'm the octopus or whether I'm not the octopus, but that's true that that EU funding issues and all the regulation and institutional framework is quite actually challenging. But I'll try to do my best and go through my presentation, which I am now trying to share. Yes. So as previously speaker said, I'm Mārtiņš Brencis. I'm Deputy Director of CFCA. So we are the cohesion agency as well, and we are also the development agency as well. So we are dealing with the EU funds for quite a bunch of time. And we are a big organization. We are over 400 employees. We have regional units, and we have 26 years of experience in the EU funding. And of course, we started as a small agency, 5 people with our FARE projects as well. And we started dealing with the EU funds before we joined the EU. So we have also actually a great experience before we joined EU. Because maybe you think that EU funds are all only available to the organizations which belong to EU, but it's not. So we started in 26 years ago. So you can calculate how long it took us to get this let's say valuable experience. And about our organization, our main goal is to, let's say, to provide this sound financial management. And the issue of our organization is that we are the only intermediate body in the cohesion policy in the EU funds. It means that we organize and we let's say challenge and we manage all the EU funding in all areas in cohesion policy. It means that we deal with the Ministry of Welfare, we deal the Ministry of Education, we deal the Ministry of Transport, and we have all the EU funding project management. So we are not, let's say, the line ministry agency. We are the agency for all Latvia, and that makes my everyday very interesting, because our manager of course deals with the specific line ministry projects, but I can receive the call from almost every partner and every municipality about every project, and that makes my day very interesting. So our brief history, as I said before, 1997, 5 employees, and we are dealing with the FARE projects. Then we are now in the second full operational program, and in the second term, when we are the only and a single cooperation authority. And it is a big challenge, because projects are different and projects are difficult. And now our envelope is close to 12 billion euro. Just to the people who like the numbers, our annual budget expenditure annually is 30 billion euro. So it means that we, during this 7-year period, we invest mainly the one budget in Latvian economy. So it means that funds, EU funds, are very important part of the investment strategy in Latvia, actually, and it creates, let's say, attention, and it creates some let's say interesting relationship with the beneficiaries as well, and of course with the line ministries, because the line ministries and the beneficiaries are the close partners to us. But about this a little bit later. Yes, and about this program portfolio. Actually, not only this cohesion funding, but also some countries says that this is COVID response money. We say that this is resilience fund, which is 1.83 billion big, and this money is also let's say managed by us. This is COVID response money. So we remember there was this COVID-19 crisis, which actually also made such things as offline work possible. And for our organization, it created additional program to make things happen. And it's actually very challenging. Now we are dealing with 3 big envelopes, and they altogether consist of 12 billion euros. So, and about the special programs, I don't know whether this is for you very interesting, but also we, as I said, we deal with a development agency. We are development agency, and we're creating a relationship with the, let's say, so-called third countries. For example, Tajikistan, for example, Moldova. We also are trying to build some relationship also with the Ukraine as well, and received a Ukrainian delegation. I guess it was some months and a half ago, and the Ukrainians are. I'm very happy that Ukrainians are getting closer to the European funding and European values as well, and it's very important for me as well. And as I said, this financial portfolio, and yes, recovery resilience facility, as I mentioned, 1.83 billion with a possibility to borrow as well. And these are the big numbers for such a, let's say, small country as we are, and these are the big investments and big money. So we try to do our best, and as I said, our goal is to make things easier, but it's not happening every day. About operational scheme. So yes, I'm not the director, I'm the deputy of director, and yes, we have, let's say, we have 3 main parts in our organization. So EU funds, which I'm speaking today, development agency, which is, let's say, our foreign affairs, let's say, part, and also public and private partnership, because agency for at least for 14 years is the competence center of the public and private partnership in Latvia. About main functions, we created 2 parts of our let's say our management system in the EU funds. So one part is the selection and contracts. So we are now in a very active phase in our program to select projects. Thousands of projects are selected in agency. In every day I sign multiple contracts, and we are dealing with several thousands of beneficiaries. So we're dealing with the municipalities, we're dealing with the commercial organizations, we are dealing with the public sector, a bunch of organizations which let's say we should treat fairly and with all the respect. every client matters. So what do we do after the project is signed? We do project monitoring, and that where the, let's say, the octopus thing happens. So we do a lot of checks, and I know the beneficiaries don't like the checks, because who wants to be checked? I don't know any organization who wants to be checked. So yes, and these checks are the procurements, the payment requests, and of course the progress report. So, and of course the online on-spot checks. And one thing what I want to say, I'm really proud of it, because in 2021, the summer when the COVID happened and we went on offline and online, and we made this remote work happen, we did not stop any project because of the administrative matter. It means that we continue to make checks also online. We created a method when we could also make the on-spot check through the online. Maybe it seems a little bit, let's say, with a humor and with a smile also. But yes, we didn't stop any project due that we cannot go to the online on-spot check because some person is COVID positive, or don't have a mask or whatever. We made this thing happen, and we didn't stop any project because of the COVID. Yes, and of course, a declaration to the commission, and we have a lot of organizations which are checking our work. And sometimes people think that we are crazy, we want to check everything, but no, we are not so crazy. We know what we are doing, but sometimes let's say our field of audit field is very complex, because we are checked by the Ministry of Finance, we are checked by the European Commission, and we are checked also by the European Court of Auditors. And sometimes they always find some new approach how to deal, and the latest approach is the interest of conflicts. And we are the very small country, and we always try to avoid this conflict of interest thing. But sometimes we need a lot of let's say explanation to say that how we avoid this conflict of interest as well. Yes, and of course reporting as well, as I said. Areas of expertise, as I said, we really deal with all the projects in Latvia in a cohesion policy. It means that we should create an effective internal control system. We should check the public procurement. We should check the fraud management and irregularities, because if there's a problem in the project, it costs, and it costs sometimes very painfully, and people don't want to get checked and don't want to get rid of the money. They want to put money in the business. So what can we do? We created a tool for some time ago, eCohesion, and it is a IT system, which is our IT system, and it has a client's interface, and client upload every information in this system. So you don't need to go to Riga or don't need to go to CESIS and visit your project manager. You can upload all the documentation and see the progress of your documentation and payment plan in the system. I think if we can compare our IT system, it will be 10 times difficult or 10 times, let's say, complex than the internet bank. So in this system, we upload all the information, and you can see all the information flows as well. State aid, it is a very important thing, and if you dig deeper, the rabbit hole gets with all the labyrinths it is. And the state aid means that there is specific regulation what you can and cannot do with the public money, and we also created the state aid division experts, which help mainly municipalities to, let's say, compare the projects and the needs according to state aid rule, because state aid doesn't have this obedience, let's say, judicial obedience that, for example, some organization made a mistake, so client shouldn't rely on this. State aid means that there is no judicial obedience on these things. So state aid means that if the organization made a mistake, so this money should be brought back from the beneficiary. The beneficiary cannot say, oh, the agency was wrong, so we should keep the money. Yes. What can I say about human resources management? I'm working here for 5 years. No, 6 years, 6 years, from 2018. And what is interesting in our agency that in the beginning, we made this day unofficial, but now I can say now it's semi-official. The Fridays for us is our, let's say, training days. And we invented Fridays as days when we try to learn something. And almost every Friday we have a training. We have a training for different, let's say, competencies, and we still make our things happen. Though, for example, we made a lot of internal trainings. We also do a lot of things that we want to share, and we have a very good also tradition that we launch a best practice seminars twice in a year, where we share our best practice, how to avoid the irregularities and different problems. So and these seminars are greatly welcomed by our beneficiaries. Yes, and about one-stop agency, as I mentioned before, we are, I guess, the only agency in the Europe that are the single cooperation authority with all the funding. And at the beginning, it was let's say a big doubt from the line ministries, but now I think that they get used to us, and we get used to with them, and now I think we are in good shape. And the idea, of course, was to reduce the cost of administration, etc. But now I think we now can say that we are a good platform to cooperate with them, and I think we have a best practice in Europe, because a lot of Europe has these social fund agencies, then they have the enterprise-based agencies, and of course also the infrastructure agencies. We are all in one. So, and yes, about, as I said before, a lot of organizations are checking us, and also we have audit authority, we have certifying authority, managing authority, and also different organizations which checks our work. Okay, about division of functions. What can I say? That ministries provide the programs, ministries make the rules, and we select the projects according to their rules. And sometimes people forget about the ministries and said, "Oh, the agency is blamed for something, for bad criteria, for let's say complex regulation, etc., etc." But ministries create the programs and create selection criteria. We deliver these programs, and that is very important. And sometimes people forget it and said, "Oh, okay, why such a stupid rule is invented?" And so on. It's very complex structure of us, so I won't go into details about this. But yes, we have almost we have department for each line ministry, and this department works with the line ministry and let's say shadows the line ministry policies as well. And of course, we have these 4 regional offices, but because we know that some municipalities want to get closer. They want to speak with us directly. They want to meet us, and that's why we have these 4 local offices, and they are they are very well welcomed, and people are very happy to meet and greet the project manager, and they like this best practice. And sometimes we go also to the regions and speak with the people, and project managers are mainly there. And what our regional divisions don't do, they don't select the projects. Yes, they only run the projects. So yes, it's still project selection is centralized. Okay, so yes, about quality assurance system. Yes, a lot of regulations, because European money is not so easy taken, and you should create a system when everything is clear and everything works. As I said before, clear division of functions. Okay, this conflict of interest or avoiding the conflict of interest. Of course, the reporting and risk identification, and it is actually a very, very hard job to make a risk assessment. And according to risk assessment, we should make also the checks to the payment claims. Sometimes people and the beneficiaries said, "Oh, why are you checking so much?" Actually, they don't know. Mainly don't know, but some do. Some know that we are not checking everything. We're making this sample checking. So we don't check any. We don't check all the documents. We check only the part of the document. But nevertheless, people are not so happy about it. As I said about this human resource management, we have a clear vision what we want to do, and we are actually investing a lot in our people, because if we have a good project manager on our side, then mainly the project will be good. Will benefit also in the side of beneficiaries. And as I said before, we have these Fridays when we are teaching ourselves. We are mentoring ourselves. We have a mentor system also on our agency, and of course we are checking very carefully whether our people are not with the overload. It is very important that people get people are healthy, not only physically but mentally, because when you are working remotely, you are speaking as me with a computer, and it is not a good thing to speak 8 hours with a computer, not with the people. So yes, we are trying to get people also to the office. And best practice is that you should visit office for 2 or 3 days. Of course, the management should go almost every day, to office, but we are intent to bring people also to the office at least once in a week. But if we have some trainings or some discussions or some meetings, we try to do our 2 or 3 days as well in the week. As I said before, all our projects are run through the e-cohesion. It's 100% online, and every documentation are in this system. So yes, and the system is quite let's say complex, but nevertheless, the client's interface is, let's say, not so maybe super friendly, but you can find everything about your project. So you can also use your client interface and this e-cohesion also as a data storage. You can also upload the documents, the agreements, and all the information and reports what you need. So yes, that's a good thing. As I mentioned before, we are also the cooperation agency for Latvia, and we are the agency also with the foreign affairs. And Latvia is going Latvia is not going. Latvia plans to run several projects also in so-called third countries. And yes, there are some mentioned countries. We are dealing with the Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and etc. Mainly why? Because as a post-Soviet republic, we have, let's say, some understanding what was the Soviet time and what we want to achieve, and we want to get rid of this, let's say, heritage, and we want to stick to the European values, and we can also contribute to the countries which are still struggling with the Soviet heritage as well. And yes, and we want to also be, let's say, joint agency with the EU. We are going through the accreditation, and when we will get this accreditation, we can also separately attend to the money and then run projects in these countries we just said before. About the PPP, very briefly, we also have this PPP, let's say, function. And what does it mean? That we are the competence center for the public partners. We have only one project now still. It's Jākava bypass. It is a road for 20 years. And now we are working also with the state real estate agency to build affordable housing in the regions, in Latvian regions. And it is a very difficult job because PPP project is long time project, and to let's say to create a long-term project, it takes time. And let's say in average, to prepare one PPP project, it takes some 4 or maybe 5 years. And only the Ministry of Transport launched this project and Latvian state roads, and we're happy now to announce that in the middle of June now they will continue to build this Jākava bypass road to the Iecava direction, because government approved also the next phase of the project as well. So the 11th of June was the great day for Latvia's PPP, because government decided to approve 2 projects. One, as I said before, this second phase of the road construction program, and the second is program is affordable housing as well, which is run by state real estate agency, and we are planning to build 1,000 apartments in our regions as well. Yes, there is a current PPP project. It is last year's slide, but nevertheless, this is the scope of our Latvian PPP. As I said before, it is a very complex job to create these projects, and sometimes people don't understand it, and they said, "Oh no, we want it because we don't have a budget money. We need some private funding," but they don't understand that private funding still should be repaid by public budget as well. And these projects are still ongoing. Every project is ongoing, etc. Latvian state roads. This project is now on the board. All other projects are only in the, let's say, preparation phase. Yes, so here's our webpage. This is our CAT. Our main office is situated in Cat House in Riga center. So yes, but you can always reach us online, and then that is all my presentation about management and things about EU. Of course, let's say I'll be happier to speak about specific projects and programs as well, but I introduced myself with the agency, and we in our work really try to stick to the issue and to the essence of the project. And sometimes people think that we are making checks only from the formal side, but still, as I said before, we are checking only the part of the documentation, part of the information. If we'll check the 100% of all money, we will never get to the end and get to the payment claim. Mainly, our regulation says that we should make the payment during the 20 working days, and we have good result because we. I think the last statistics were mainly 18, 19 days at most. So yes, but the final payment claim is longer, because then you can go to, you should go to the on-spot check, and then you should review all the documentation. It takes a little bit longer, some 50 days maybe. Yes. So yes, and people don't want to hear problems. People want to get to the results, to the let's say to the money, and they don't need to hear about some problems, some bureaucracy, and some things what they don't want to hear. Yes. So that was it.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin, very much for your presentation. If we are returning back to the topic about octopus, then I would like to say in the Latvian case of the so-called local funds, we might be actually quite happy, because Central Finance and Contracting Agency is the main agency who actually deals with all the funds here in Latvia. So for us, it's both organizations, public organizations and SMEs, it's quite easy to get clear what is available here in Latvia. We go just to the agency's homepage and see what kind of calls are opened, what are on process, and when which are planned to be open in upcoming period. So in our case, I think that octopus question is not the question for Latvia generally, and this is actually thanks to the good job of the agency. Additionally, of course, we have 3 more platforms where we can check the funds. It's mainly its agencies. Then we have Latvian Investment Development Agency, who works more on the funds, which supports organizations and SMEs for going abroad, for internationalization, for innovations, and investment attraction. And then we have Altum, which works with financial tools for access to finance for SMEs and organizations. And then we have organization called LAD, or I even would like to, for me it's hard to explain the name of this organization in English right now, but they are more focusing on support for rural topic not for me. If Martin can help me.
Let's say state rural service, or the people who deals with the let's say rural affairs. If you are, for example, if you are, I don't know, growing some grass, or you are trying to grow some cows or pigs, or I don't know, make wine maybe in Latvia, or make some real dairy products, or you trying to do also not agricultural things. I know that they have very good actually non-agriculture programs as well, but actually these are the investments in the rural areas. And they also are in every Latvian region, and we are good friends with them also, because they have also a good practice as well. And sometimes when there is news about some good or bad thing that happened with the EU funding, you don't precisely know whether this is our or some other project. And if it's happened in some region or the rural area, mainly it is a state rural service project. Yeah, but we are good friends with them as well.
Exactly, and third, for our Latvian local octopus are with 4 legs, to my point of view only. So we have Central Finance and Contracting Agency. We have this rural agency who takes care about agriculture, woods and fishery, and regional to projects. And then we have this international approach with investment and internationalization by Latvian Investment Development Agency. And then we have Altum, the 4th one, with financial support tools for organizations. So in this kind of point, we can be quite lucky that we have just mainly 4 pages where we can check the daily calls, and it, I think, could be even the best practice for countries generally in Europe and outside of Europe, so that everything is more or less quite clear divided and quite clear described what kind of calls and EU funded support is available here in the country. So yes. Thank you very much, Martin, for presentation and also for supporting me in some additional topics. I think for you it also was a pleasure here to be in this webinar for Ukrainian NGOs and small and medium enterprises. And I don't see any more at the moment questions. So thank you once more. And then step by step, we are moving to the next presentation, this time again made by me. So I will present the project, the topic EU-funded project management, long story short. So if we are speaking about EU-funded project management, then to be very honest, this topic, mainly when I'm managing these kind of trainings, both for organizations, for students, it goes or at least 6 sessions or at least a couple of days of trainings, because then we go in the topic quite in details and quite in small issues, but actually are the main issues here in international project management, which are funded by EU projects. So generally, my structure of presentation is focused on introduction about the background as an expert, about framework of EU projects for business support organizations in Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry case, how we are doing it, and which you can use also as an example for your organization maybe, or at least take some ideas. And then it's very short topic about international project management. But international project management, as I said, it's a wide topic, and there's a lot of details in that. But let's make it short. And so very short, my background. I'm master degree in project management, and I'm IPMA B-level senior project manager, which is international certificate for senior project managers, recognized in all over the world. And actually with EU-funded projects as expert, I'm working since 2011. Like life experience since 11 years, because there's one small photo which I'm making a joke that even in primary school we had the first in that times Leonardo da Vinci program project, which is integrated into Erasmus Plus program, about a project which calls All Towns Go to Europe. So me as a pupil were involved in this project for international cooperation between the different schools of Europe, and it was my first experience in EU-funded projects and generally in international projects as well. So therefore I'm saying that I'm actually in the field already since my 11 years age, and I'm director of the EU project department, which actually implements 3 programs: competitiveness, sustainability and education. And those 3 programs you actually might recognize are in relevance with also EU-funded strategy generally. I'm also a lecturer at Riga University of Applied Science, where I'm working with students, and my course is about international project management, and I also senior project officer at Euro Chambers, which is actually an organization in Brussels, which unites more than 40 chambers across Europe and even outside of Europe. So based on my experience, I can also tell you some framework of EU projects for business support organizations in Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Always my strategy when I'm providing these kind of trainings goes in 2 ways. One is that we're starting with with strategy, and other approach is that I'm starting with basics. What is our role in this field, to be honest. And then when we are speaking about business support organizations, and we need to remember that we act on members, and our members are entrepreneurs. And so we present the member needs, we provide services for members, we provide networking for members, and mostly these type of organizations, which are so-called business support organizations, are non-governmental organizations. But we also need to keep in mind that there's a a lot of organizations who are public organizations as well, national agencies, quite a lot, often chambers are also partly public, like in Germany, and so on. Business support organizations can present business in different ways. One is that they are presenting businesses in like international level, like Euro Chambers, which unites actually all the Europe and more. Then there could be a session which unites chambers in one country, like Lithuanian Chambers of Commerce and Industry and Crafts, association, and it could be also a business support organization like Cluster Excellence Denmark, which unites organizations which are like business support organizations as clusters. And it could be also European Textile Association, it could be SME United, which unites SMEs in Europe, and so on and so on. So those levels in business support organizations can start with like international, country level, regional level, it can be in city level, it can be even a small town level. Because if we are looking for business support organizations, even like chambers, they can be also Chamber of Commerce and Industry of one town, which unites all the enterprises which are located in concrete town, yes? So, but our main role is to support our entrepreneurs. And as I mentioned very shortly, types of business support organizations are chambers of commerce and industry, and some countries is also crafts. Sometimes it's just chamber of commerce, so it can be different approach. Then there are sectoral associations which are united and developed based on sectors like textile, food association, whatever, wood association, and so on. Then you might know there's also employers confederations, incubators, clusters, and others. And I like very much this logo from New Zealand, Myanmar Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where you can see that we are actually the birds, but in different kind of size and different kind of species. So, but we are still continue to act on needs of the companies. And then we are going to the Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry case. Very short introduction about the organization, that it is the biggest business support organization in Latvia, which unites across 3,000 cross-sectoral members, which 90% are SMEs. We have more than 60 sectoral associations as members of Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and if we calculate additionally those members of associations, which are companies, to the general group of the companies to which we have access, then we have around 6,000 companies generally available in our database. And we have more than 20 active international projects. To be very precise, at the moment we have 23 international projects. At the moment, we are working mainly on international projects with international funds and programs. Local, so-called local funds are for us interesting, but we decided to be a good social partner without risks in some kind of conflict of interests, and therefore for a local business environment we are cooperating with Central Finance and Contracting Agency, with other organizations and ministries of Latvia, but we are not applying for so-called local funds. Meanwhile, we are very active in international projects, various international partnerships and organizations' international aims and goals. So, a role of the business support organizations and NGOs in funded programs. Latvian case. So, our mission is that the main objective of European Union projects unit of the Latvian Chamber is to participate in international projects targeting companies or improving the business environment. What does it mean? That if we have an international project, then this project should focus on two things. One is that our companies can receive some kind of training, tools, experience, webinars, services, support in different fields, or we are improving the business environment. So it means that we are cooperating with public organizations about improvements in policy making, improvements in the grant programs, and so on and so on. So more or less directly to the companies, or indirectly but still directly to the companies, is business environment. So, and this type of projects is interesting for us. And we have 3 programs, as we have more than 20 projects, and you maybe can imagine that their topics of the projects are quite diverse. And to ensure quality and also know-how about the topics, we have 3 programs. One program is competitiveness, sustainability, skills, and labor force. In those programs, we are already putting the projects under the concrete topics and working already in the teams about the concrete topics, that we can ensure know-how both for project applications and also know-how for the companies. Members receives free of charge participation or low co-financing. And members have also savings of resources, which is time and money, to be honest, because we will go forward with next slides. When we are applying for EU international funds, it takes a lot of time and it takes quite a lot of resources, starting with the idea development till the project proposal development. Then we are submitting it, then it's going evaluation process, which could be up to 4, 5, 6 months, 8 months sometimes or more. Then it goes approval or rejection, and when if there's approval, what is good, what is success, then it goes contracting phase, and then step by step we start to implement the project. So actually generally it can be up to 1 year when from idea to real activities. And for companies sometimes they don't have such time. So what they received for being a members, which what they received, they already received real service, real output, real deliverable of the project. They just participate, received support, sign, make a photo, give a feedback, and after that, after training, know-how, service, and so on, they go home and do their business. We deal with reports, we'll deal with the financial management, we deal with organization, we deal with clarifications, with all these kind of administrative part. So we take a lot of these kind of things to our responsibility, and companies can receive the real content and the real support. So, and I think if a company or members start to realize how difficult sometimes and time consuming is this work with EU funds, then generally they should appreciate opportunities which they can receive here in activities. And yes, so a little bit more about how we work with funded projects. So as I mentioned, we have 3 programs, and in those programs we are putting the projects under each program. So in competitiveness program, we put the projects which speaks about export development, internationalization, and so on, support of startups, digitalization, innovation, other initiatives to improve policy in business environment. At the moment, about export development, we have mentioned 3 main blocks, but we have ongoing project about cooperation with Ukraine, which is Latvia 2 project, why we are here today. We have a project which supports export development to Azerbaijan, and we have a project which supports single market development in European Union, like European Enterprise Network, and other activities which support companies to do business here in Europe. And another program we have, Skills and Labor Force, which is very important. This is a program where we focus on the projects which are starting with vocational education and training till universities and till lifelong learning. Why this program is so important? Because if the company wants to be competitive, sustainable in all kind of ways, they need experienced and skilled workforce. And if they don't have this kind of workforce, then I'm always saying the company is such strong as there is the weakest staff person in the company. So therefore, for every company who thinks about innovations, investment attraction, internationalization, and competitiveness in local and international market, they need to be ready, also train their team and work with their team, and that they can be educated both levels, the practical one, starting with digitalization, cybersecurity, marketing, till already of well-being, like work and life balance and how to manage the stress and so on. So this is quite important generally program for companies. And also vocational education training is very important because vocational education training organizations actually provides and prepares the staff for the companies. And if they will do it in old-fashioned way or there won't be cooperation, then actually we decrease our competitiveness, because in the companies then you will have staff who won't be relevant to up-to-date needs for the company. And then the third program is sustainability, where we are speaking about energy efficiency, circular economy, CO2 emissions, waste management, and so on, which focuses on EU Green Deal, that companies For them, this sustainability program is not attractive, to be honest. But then again, the companies who are huger and medium-sized companies who realize that actually this, at the moment we are speaking about that, but it will be really a reality of each company after a couple of years, where will be need for sustainable strategy plans in the company, where will be need to ensure there's energy efficiency in company, because energy efficiency increase also competitiveness in price levels of the companies, and we have lower cost for energy efficiencies, all kind of energy efficiency in the organizations, and you might have actually more competitive price in the market and so on. So if we look like very not going into details, just like really from top, oh, I don't need this kind of, these sustainable topics about ensuring the life of animals in the woods, but it's not so. It's much deeper, and it's really connected with companies, and they should be prepared. And the same also is circular economy. As I mentioned, circular economy is a topic much deeper than it looks from the first sight. That sometimes people think that, yeah, why we need to manage these kind of things in our company, but meanwhile, circular economy is about resource management in European Union for increasing independence from other outside European Union countries, so that we can deal with resources what we have here in Europe. So, and this is a topic about circular economy, and we should be aware about that. And therefore, if we are speaking about sustainability programs, and I'm saying that we are with projects, we are bringing much wider impact and understanding for companies about the future needs in the market and in European Union. And what I feel happy about this program sometimes when I see that if like 10 years ago we spoke about energy efficiency, and companies said to us, why you are in chamber speaking about this topic, it's not actual for us and we don't need that, and actually where is international markets and where is the lobby and these kind of things. Then in nowadays, after 10 years, I really see that understanding about those topics, interest about those topics, and need for those topics are increasing to the companies, and a couple of them are doing a already great job, and I'm really proud about them. And then this was a little bit story how we are managing the projects here in Latvian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. If I'm going back a little bit to previous slides, then we can see that we are a team of 5 persons. So, and in competitiveness department, we have 3 persons who are working with competitiveness projects. 1 person's working with skills and labor force, and 1 person's working with the projects which focuses on sustainability. So altogether, we are a team of 5 people who are working mainly on daily basis about project proposal writing, idea development, implementation of the projects, and closure of the project. So the department of 5 people are taking care of the full process of the project. And we are interacting with other departments of the chamber as well, because there are topics where should be involved also policy department, there are topics where should be involved also export department, and there are topics where should be also involved like legal expert or membership management department and so on. So we are integrated in the organization, and general aim is also that sometimes from the projects we can develop some new services after end of the project to the members based on our service offers in the chamber. So EU-funded projects, we are not looking on them as a source of funds only, because it doesn't bring added value. Therefore, we are looking very strongly to EU-funded projects as a source of opportunities for our members, for a source of services to our members and companies, with aim to increase their competitiveness and readiness to work also internationally and develop innovations. We are looking EU-funded projects as a source for new services, new networks, new cooperation in future, which can be useful, valuable for organization and also for our members. I think this should be also kept in mind, because if the organization looks on EU-funded projects only as a resource for finances, it's a short-term game. Because if the organization looks on this as a source of finances, and they sometimes are not focusing on results, they are not focusing on quality of results, they are not focusing on real impact of results, and yes, sometimes auditors are looking only for financial documents, but a new tendency of EU-funded programs generally are that they start to look less on financial reports and much more on content reports, on result reports, what kind of results we have achieved, how huge impact we have achieved, what kind of feedbacks are from companies, is it was useful or not useful, what was the activities valuable for the companies, and so on. So it means that our focuses are, of course, finance is necessary for implement the project, and it should be done in accurate way and in clear way and in official way, but then again, main focus is to provide good service for the members and companies of Latvia, because you also need to keep in mind that EU-funded projects, it's not only for members, it's public funding, so it should be available for every organization, every company here in Latvia and even outside Latvia. So, so the quality is a topic and it should not be forgotten. So, and then let's go to the international project management. There is two project definitions. One is that general definition, what is project? Because when you are doing projects, then actually there's a lot of ideas what actually project is. When I see sometimes in staff CV portals where are recruiting the staff persons for the companies and organizations, the project management sometimes is called also secretary, and project manager is actually basic client relationship manager and so on. So there's different kind of interpretations of this meaning of project manager and project management as such. Therefore, I'm always putting quite clear, because EU funds is also quite clear project management. We can speak about different project management methodologies like waterfall or agile or different hybrid versions of those methodologies. But generally, project is that you have concrete special task with clear goals that you need to finish within a certain time using specific resources. So it means that if we are speaking about EU-funded projects, you have project up to 1, 2, or 3, or 5 years. You have budget for this, and you have concrete activities and concrete goals what you need to achieve during this period of time, and which you need to do it during this period of time, and need to implement concrete activities of the period of time. And this should be kept in mind for every single organization who starts to work with EU-funded projects, because sometimes there's this painful experience that, oh, we received first advance payment, so nice, and we go enjoy summer, then we go enjoy some other important priorities. Oops, 1 year is passed. Then, oh, we need to submit some report. Oh, we should do 10 trainings and implement 2 training visits, and we haven't done that, and all the money is already spent whatever somewhere, and then there's problems starting. And this kind of approach is very dangerous, because it means that this organization might be actually short-time player in EU-funded programs, because I haven't heard that there's a blacklist. Officially there's not a blacklist, but if we are speaking about EU-funded programs, they still are regulating quite in details which organization and is applying for funds, what kind of experience they have faced with organization. So if organization or company screwed up one time, then for a while there should not be the second time for them, to be honest. Or they should be very lucky and really need to explain what was the issue, was they screwed up in the first time, and that they will be they are going to do their best job for upcoming projects. So be aware that to step into these activities, you need to be ready to really do your best and do it in a accurate way and in wise way. So international project management is also, and then there's a focus on international project management. So this is a management where projects, with projects that involve international resources, teams working together to achieve project objectives. So when we have local funds, it's a local project with local activities, and you don't need to deal with international organizations, partners, and everything. But if we speak about international projects, we have international funds like Erasmus Plus, Horizon, Creative Europe, and so on. Then we have also international resources. We have teams working together with different cultures, and we have common project objective which we need to achieve. Very shortly, there's differences between international and national project management. In international project, you need to understand cultural differences. Be aware that they are a lot. Even with neighbor countries, even within one country, I think in such a huge country as Ukraine, I think cultural differences you can face even from one point of Ukraine till the second point of Ukraine. So those cultural differences really makes an impact on the project. I can say, based on my experience, that that in minor things, even organizing the events, companies are reacting differently when we are speaking about cultural differences. For example, Estonia or Latvia, Lithuania, which are actually close countries with like general common culture understanding. Yes, so this should be trained. There's a lot of materials available and books available about different Hofstede's approach, about international project management, Levy's approach, about Toppenhaber's, Erwin Mayer's approach about international project management, and so on. So this is actually a main issue that sometimes projects screw up, to be honest, because there's challenges to speak in and find a common understanding and accept a different culture what you can face in international projects. Language barriers. Generally, thanks God, in Europe we speak more or less everybody in English, but still sometimes there are countries where generally people speak weakly in English, and this is also my affect project, and in different strange and difficult and funny ways. Then also need to understand the knowledge of international laws and agreements. This is if we are speaking about project reports, international EU-funded international project reports requests also for accounting the documents for staff, for external expertise and services, and so on. And there is also need to be aware that in other countries some kind of whatever documents for staff could be different than in your country, and also it can affect somehow the project reports and financing planning. So this should be also double checked and should be aware and should be agile quite a lot. You also need to be aware about logistics and supply chain management, because logistics, like for partner meeting, you know where you are going, or whatever, organizing some event, it could be challenging. If we are speaking about international projects, then political and economical instability differences should be really followed. And as I won't tell examples, but for each topic could give a quite interesting examples from my experience, but we don't have so much time today. Then teams are often spread across the different countries, and also should be aware about different time zones and even holidays, which could affect international projects. If we are speaking about Horizon Europe, there could be 10 countries involved, and then it could be like a challenging if you have like a Orthodox Eastern holidays, and then you have Christian Eastern holidays, then you have national holidays per the countries, and some kind of culture differences. Like in Finland, people are going for vacation for 2 months in the summer. Meanwhile, like in Germany, people are working actively, and it should be respected, because sometimes partners decide not to respect these kind of some national holidays, and actually this is a very bad approach, and it destroys quite intensively partnership relationships, and also affects project results. And of course, the differences in history and everyday issues as well. So when you are speaking about international projects, you need to talk about presidents, sports, elections, politics, economics, and weather, and growing the flowers as well. And there is also should be aware about that, and also should be agile for that, and should be not surprised, but more accepting the different things. And when we are speaking about international projects and also EU funds, be aware that you need to be quite a lot multi-person in a lot of topics, but also need to use different social networks. LinkedIn should be made in correct way with good up-to-date description, with nice description of you as a professional person, you as an organization representative. Because LinkedIn actually is quite widely used in EU funds and EU projects as well, that for checking who is writing, who is offering the proposal or corporation. And if you are doing crazy Instagram or crazy Facebook, it could affect also partnerships. Tons of stories behind that. And read information, follow and educate yourself. Lifelong learning in this topic is up-to-date issue. And then phases of the project. And let's start to run a little bit out of time. Therefore, we will go through, hopefully quickly, all the phases of the project. Generally, there's initiation of ideas, and there's planning, executing, and closing the project. So this could be up to 2-3 years. Average length of EU-funded projects are 2 years. Then there's application of EU funding cases. So identify funding opportunities. It means that you go to concrete funding programs page, check opportunity, look, oh, there's open-end call, check what kind of activities and priorities are planned to be funded in the program, and concrete call. Because calls in the one program also might differ between each other. So as I said, sometimes that if it's not a top topic for today, it might be top topic for your interests after 3 months. So there's need to follow everything all the time. Then you develop the concept. Then you start to build a partnership. Who is going to be in your in project as partner? Write a proposal, which is quite interesting job, to be honest. Submit a proposal. Then if proposal is funded, you sign agreements. Then you have a kickoff meeting of the project. Then you start to research and develop activities of the project, provide deliverables. Then you manage your accounts and reports. Then you administrate reports. Also communicate and disseminate about the project widely, because it's very important to give a word about your activities to the public, your target audience who is involved in your NGO or your organization or your client. Then with additional events and networking, and then there's final report, impact and sustainability analysis, and then it's finished. This is story for 2 years. And this is a timeline for European Union case, getting to the project and results. Here you can see 2 flows. One is like that there's call, then it's going, most of the time it's open for up to 1, 2, 3 months. So during those 3 months, you need to write proposal. Then evaluation might be up to 6 months. Then it's decision approval for 1 month. Then you can sign agreement. It like what's signing agreements, like 1-day job. Technically, it always goes up to 1 month because you need to consult your legal expert. Then there goes some kind of discussion still and clarifications, and it's always up to 1 month to sign agreement. And then you start the project. So first year is preparation, and then only after 1 year you start the project. And this is a case why NGOs are playing active role in this part, because NGOs takes those time on themselves, and companies can participate only on concrete activities. Otherwise, companies need to do all this kind of work by themselves and need to wait 1 year when they can get real funds and real activities. And sometimes for companies, it's too long. They need a solution tomorrow or even yesterday. So, and this is the role of NGOs. That in this way we can just invite companies and take their attention only for concrete activity, and practical activities starting with the 2nd year. And also, therefore, we need to focus on long-term needs only. If we are focusing in the project on needs what it was yesterday, due to this 1 year period, it will be too late when we need to start to implement activities. And then there is a topic about the financial flow. Every organization who is going into EU-funded programs need to have financial capacity. If you don't have financial capacity, if you have recently developed your NGO and you don't have funds on your bank account, you will have huge challenges to start to go for applying for EU funds. Why? Because project starts in first month The first report might be after 6 months, and then the report is evaluating, and then clarification process, which always goes. There's always some clarification. Quite rarely you have a directly approved report after 2 days when you submitted the report. And then after actually 1 year, you start to receive funds for activities what you have spent the funds for first 6 months. So what does it mean? That actually when you are applying for EU funded project, you should have a budget for project activities, including staff costs, training costs, external expert costs, equipment, and so on for first year of the project. So my suggestion for new companies or new organizations to start with smaller funds and then step by step increase the capacity and start to apply after a couple of years already for $500,000, million, and so on, bigger funds. Otherwise, you can apply for big money, and then there's 2 scenarios: or you don't get this project, or you get the project but screw up after 6 months when your funds are over. I think this is the scenarios that you wouldn't like to face, so be aware about this. And of course, yes, there are programs who provide advance payment to the organizations, but for advance payments, they are quite strictly evaluating which organization receives these advance payments, and those advance payments are not always 100%. They might be 30% of the project budget or these kind of things. So check please this issue as well and be aware from that. So initiation, let's go quickly through all the steps. When you are making a project idea, I see one question. I will reply after the end of presentation. So initiation, so you are starting with project idea, so you need to use your goals based on SMART methodology. So the goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. You cannot say that you are during 2 years doing some great stuff which improves generally business environment and increase export development from Ukrainian small and medium enterprises, whatever, across the Europe. It's too wide. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say the numbers. It doesn't say the concrete period. Doesn't say what kind of sectoral companies and so on. It should be really focused. And the more focused, the more easy you will have work with the project. For doing that, you need to also follow the EU policy and program guidelines. Every call has a guidelines. I know that everybody don't like to read them because it's a boring document. It's written like a text on white page without any kind of photos and graphics and so on. And there's a lot of text, up to 10, 15, 20, 50 pages. And why I should read it? I know my idea. But actually the program guidelines explains you very much for which activities you can get funds, what kind of deliverables you should provide to the project, and in what kind of time frame you should do it, and so on and so on. So you need to really read those documents to be competitive in project proposal calls and also to prepare a good project. If you skip this gap, you put yourself under huge risks that you want to achieve the results. A project proposal. So it's a deep plan of actions written by consortium of partners and submitted for funding. So, and you need to be clear which is going to be your partners in the project, and the partners should not be involved 1 day before the deadline. It's really bad practice, and most probably you might not get a good partner who accepts for going to be like last minute offer. Last minute offers works only then when you have already very experienced partners who already quickly understand the topics, and you have already some kind of whatever 5 years cooperation experience in past, and then there's already trust balance, yes. But generally, partners should be defined already in the first step of the project. Then you need to clearly describe what kind of activities you are going to do, what kind of deliverables you need to do, how much money you will need for that, and how much stuff you are going to involve in the project. And then you need to be clear when and how to apply. There's a lot of trainings and informative webinars and meetings and whatever provided by the funded programs and calls. So follow this information, apply, listen, make a notes and analyze and be prepared for concrete call. And bear in mind that find relevant partner via relevant partner search. because sometimes organizations might make a great homepage, but when you start to look in their financial capacity, staff capacity, and so on, there's nothing behind the good page. And always also read the program rules carefully. It's like main topic to read rules carefully. Otherwise, you can shoot in with your idea and different topic, and you lose your time and resources for proposal development. But it's not a job for one day, to be honest. Planning. Again, be aware that you need to make a work breakdown structure. Again, there's full internet with materials and trainings about what is work breakdown structure. Project budget, risks, stakeholder management, everything should be considered. Everything should be described in project proposal. Everything is quite described in project agreement. You need to be ready to prepare project Gantt diagram, RASI table, budget table. Those are main tools for you for planning the project, for implementing the project. Executing. So you need to work with your team. And teamwork, international teamwork, is different part of the cake and cookie in this game, but then you need to describe concrete responsibilities, what is described in project RASI table, and you need to describe project stakeholder management as well. So be aware that these are your main tools, and stakeholder management is more important than it sounds in the first seconds, because stakeholders are organizations which funds the project. Stakeholders are organizations which makes a business environment, and it affects the project quite a lot. And if they are not managed well, you can screw up in the project quite easily. Monitoring. So it's again Gantt, budget, or budget even twice written. Risk matrix. Risk matrix in the sense where we are not speaking about some kind of earthquake might come and some kind of storm might come and something like that, but quite clear risks. What we are going to do is that we need to achieve 20 participants in the training program for 6 months, but we will achieve 10, or they will start no show up, but you need to provide deliverables for the project. How you deal with this risk? How you deal with the risk if you might have staff changes in the project? How you deal with the risk that you have lack of finances in some kind of phase of the project? How you deal with the risks that some kind of political issues can arise and cancel or postpone your project or pause your project? So you need to think about real risks in a pragmatic way, and be ready also for reports. And reports you need to submit in EU-funded programs once per 4 months or once per 6 months, and then there's a big programs which sometimes ask to submit reports once per 18 months, something like that. But 18 months, to my point of view, is the longest period what I have seen in some programs. Normally it's 6, 12 months, something like that. And after 2-3 years, you are closing the project. So you need to pay all the bills about the project which are funded in EU-funded programs within the time frame of the project. So if you have said that the project starts with the 1st of January this year and finished on the 31st of December next year, all the payments which are relevant to the project should be managed in this period. You cannot pay payments something about the project cost on year 26 March. It's outside the project period and it won't be eligible. This is a tricky part because sometimes organizations forget about that, and then fun part is starting and so on. You need to also work with your client, you need to work with your stakeholders, and you need to present results, you need to speak about the results, you need to also manage the team and incorporate the results in your organization, and then there's final report and deliverables, everything what is presented widely. And deliverables should not be, okay, we finished the project, we put this file in the folder and it's forgotten. It should be published in your page, it should be spread out to your social networks for wider use and so on, that it's sustainable and durability and transferable for other projects and other organizations and companies. Rules of the game if you work with the funded projects. So financial transparency, official payments and procurements are must have. If you don't have official payments, because all the budget, all the reports, and all the budget payments are made based on official documents, official payments, official procurements. So if you don't manage this, you are screwed up. You won't get more than officially you have paid to somebody for stuff. Official documentation. contracts, invoices, bank statements about payments, about invoices. All these kind of documents are requested for financial reports, and you need to be aware. And in those documents, you also need to make remarks about concrete projects. This is financed by project Latvia 2, or this is financed by project Ukrainian Latvian Corporation number 3, and so on. If you don't follow those rules, you are under the risk not to get the funds from EU-funded programs. Reports, audits, and timesheets are the documents which you need to be ready and be prepared. And then you have tangible results, meaningful results, important and useful results, and communication about results are main activities that you need to do during those 2-3 years when the project is on implementation phase. And of course, always remember that English is a working language. So when you are using English also for application, you need to think about not like in simple English that we will do that. You need to explain that this activity will be implemented by those partners. We will achieve that because it's important of this kind of arguments. So you need to put arguments, and your English should be quite clear enough, not too difficult, but clear enough for understanding what you are doing, what you did, what are your plans and everything. And this also requests clear thinking of mind. And I know that we are using ChatGPT quite a lot, but for project proposals where ChatGPT is used like mainly like for everything, they screwed up because it's speaking too general. So you need to put concrete arguments, and ChatGPT you can think about tool which supports, but it should not be the main writer generally of the project proposal or report. So my last slide is open education resources. In European Commission has developed open PM2 methodology about project management. There's things that you can use for RASI tables, budgets, and so on and so on. There's also IPMA International Project Manager page where there's a lot of resources about general project management, and PME as well, Project Management Institute. So be aware about these tools which you can use for your daily international project management. And then it's like, thank you for your attention, and I start to read the questions. And I'm happy that at least 35 participants are still with me today. So the first question is, hello, thank you for your webinar. Could you briefly explain how cascading financing works with the framework of the project under the Horizon program, where the beneficiaries are participants from 10 countries? So cascading funding is when you have project which is approved in Horizon Europe. In the project, as main activity or one of activities is described that this project will provide concrete grants up to 5, 10, 15 or 50,000 for companies. And those cascading fundings are within concrete one project. It's not funded program, but this project is funded by EU funds. So it's a little bit like different layer, like strategy, program, proposals, projects, and then the project has this cascading funding where they are giving additional funds to the companies. Most of the time, those cascading funding, it's not a huge grant for the companies. They are focusing on concrete goal, quite small, quite specific, which is set in the concrete project. So, and it means that it could be, I have seen, for startups, I have seen cascading funding up to 100,000 euros. But generally, this cascading funding works more about 10, 15, 20,000 euros per one organization. So, and it focuses really on, like, for example, 10,000 euros for energy efficiency, increasing activities in the company. As a result, company need to achieve 5% savings in energy efficiency. And the project is open. You can do whatever kind of activities you can do for achieving this 5% for energy efficiency, but you receive those 10,000 euros for concrete activity. So if we are speaking about EU-funded projects widely, then they are more focusing on 2-3 years old long periods with a lot of activities, like whatever training programs, 7 webinars, 7 training visits, guideline development, piloting, these kind of things. Cascading is like concrete, short, focus in short period. It could be 3 months, 6 months, something like that. So, and participants from different 10 countries, yes, this kind of cascading funding could be open for concrete countries. Sometimes they are open for all the Europe, but most of the time this is international project where are included 10 countries, and so this cascading funding is available for those concrete 10 countries. So in the project in which we participate in, interregional thematic competitions are planned from next year. So, okay, so they can be these competitions planned, concrete international development, cascading funding, and so on. Reporting in those cascading fundings, it is like that you don't need international participation. You can go most of the time alone as a SME or as NGO with short activity or 1 or 2 activities, and you achieve concrete goal. Sometimes as cascadings are a little bit under the tenders wider. I have seen also in EU for BCC where it's like partly technically called cascading funding, where you can apply for projects for 12 or 18 months where you need to do some kind of concrete couple of activities for concrete goal. And sometimes it can be that you can add some international partner, but it's always small projects, small partnerships and short period and a short list of activities. So I see 2 more messages. Okay. Greetings from Ukraine and thank you. So what's more, our international team is doing smart and circular city project near Kyiv with strong social outcomes basis. Is there a way to collaborate with your department on sustainability topics? Yes, it's is there opportunities always to cooperate on sustainable topics. First of all, we need to see what kind of funds are available, which supports cooperation between European Union country and Ukraine in concrete topic, and what kind of activities they support. Because what we are not so much looking, as I already explained previously, we are focusing on 2 ways that we are working on a service for our members or companies, or we are speaking about business environment improvements. If we are speaking about cities, public sectors, and we are business support organization for public sectors, for city development, you might have maybe need different partner who is more working on city development topics in sustainability field. If you have interest, you can write me. I can maybe share some contacts from Latvian side who works also on public level in city development in sustainable topics. So all recordings will be available. We will send the link. Does your team help with grants for feasibility studies? That's a big need for Ukrainian projects at the moment. How often do they happen? Feasibility studies, it's an interesting topic. Generally, we don't... yes, we partly help with feasibility studies as such by providing expertise and also being writers sometimes of feasibility studies, but supporting with grants, it's an interesting topic because most of the time feasibility studies is part of the wider project in the way that, as I actually, if we are going back to this slide, sorry, technical department start to quickly switch the screens, then feasibility studies is part of the planning or initiation. So you have a project approved, and then you have feasibility studies, and then based on general activity plan, you update activity plan based on the feasibility studies. So therefore, if we speak about feasibility studies as a general service as such, yes, we can deal about some support in service based on the service contract. But if we speak generally about feasibility studies in the framework of the project, you need to see what kind of project technical description is for feasibility studies. They are quite clearly describing what kind of topic should be included in feasibility studies and what kind of structure should be for those studies. But yes, this is a field where we, of course, we can speak about cooperation. And if we are speaking about grants, as I said, the feasibility studies most of the time is part of the wider project, and how often these kind of wider calls are available, you can see in each program homepage. Interreg projects at the moment are already, like what I already presented previously, have a calls ongoing at the moment, or they have already second or third call for the projects. You need to look what kind of funds is available for you in Ukraine, and this, of course, is a topic where we can always look for opportunities. So yes, so from my side, it's I think all, and also no questions. Thank you for your attention. My apologies is that we a little bit run out of time. So everything is recorded, so you will have a link for recording in near future. You also will receive all the presentations, and also you will receive the feedback form about the webinar. So please evaluate our webinar. For us it's important because we always want to provide the best of the best from our side, and feedback forms is really widely usable for improving our services. So, and once more, thank you very much for being with us today during the mid of summer, when people most of the time are willing to be outside with the families in the garden and so on. And I highly appreciate also your time, and once more thanks to the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is our project partner for this project and also has done a great job. And enjoy next part of the summer, and thank you for attention.